Hello, 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 hello. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Wherever you are watching us from, we want to say a very big welcome to you to another episode of HR Digest. And I want you to know that today promises to be another exciting episode. Sedat HR Digest is brought to you by Sedat HR Consult and with the support from FA Impressions. You can contact them on 0243 526781. 0243 for all your branding and printing needs. So today we are looking at a very important topic. In episode 2, we looked at performance management. And today we are looking at another angle of performance management. All right, we are looking at how to improve the performance of our employees. And ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that this is a very important topic that must not be taken for granted. If you are here with us, you can type your name in the comment section and we will gladly welcome you. Once again, HR Digest. Sedat HR Digest is brought to you by Sedat Consult and support from FA Impressions. You can contact them on 0243 526781 for all your branding and printing needs. My guest today is a seasoned HR practitioner. He has a wide experience in the HR field, and trust me, you would never, 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 never regret joining us today. All right, so my guest today is Jeffrey Boham. Jeffrey holds a 3 master's degree, Charlie, 3. So it should tell you that today we are going to learn, relearn, and unlearn. He's also a certified HR practitioner, all right, with certification in SPHR, and then also from SHRM, SCP. He's also a project management professional. Jeff is a global learning and development, business project management, and general human resource management and development professional. He has 16 years of experience in HR and other fields of the corporate world. Today, my guest is Jeff Boham, HR practitioner, and he practices in the US of A. Netizens, please help me welcome our guest, Jeff, to Sedat HR Digest, and we would be discussing how to improve the performance of our employees. Jeff, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Patience.
And I'm happy to be hosting the program today. I'm sure would have a lot of things to learn. I can't wait. I can't just wait because I know that there are a lot of things to learn. And I believe that our viewers are also ready and can't also wait like the way I can't wait. And so we want to go straight to the point and we don't want to waste much time. Today we are looking at how to improve the performance of our employees. And a lot of managers, a lot of leaders in the corporate sector take this aspect of performance for granted. And so first of all, I would want you to let us know what does it mean to improve the performance of our employees or our workers? What does it mean to improve the performance of our workers? And why is it necessary for us to prioritize the improvement of our workers?
Thank you very much. Most of the time, I think we think just about performance management. Performance management is a standard procedure that we all follow, is a strategic thing that we all follow. When it comes to performance improvement, what we're looking at is really like a component of the performance management process where we are utilizing our current resources, our current staff, to really improve them to the point where they are operating at their highest capacity. So if you have people who can, let's say, churn out 10 maybe designs per week, but you are only utilizing them at 5 designs per week capability, then you have a reserve capability that is not necessarily taken advantage of. You may be mistakenly bringing people into the company, but when it comes to performance improvement, the whole idea is taking time to really kind of understand the capability of your staff and utilizing ways and means to expand their capability through training and some other means to get them to be operating at their full capacity. And when that happens, the organization gains with its current resources, but at the same time, the fact that the organizational resources increase, the fact that the individual capacity increases in production, what happens is it helps the organization as a whole to meet its expected outcomes. I hope that is making sense. Now, what was the second part of the question?
Why is it important for leaders, managers to prioritize the improvement of their employees' performance?
Well, I look at it this way. Why would you have the capacity and capability and not really fully enhance it? Organizations want to be sure that they are operating at maximum efficiency. And if you have the human resources, if you have the various capabilities and capacities, and you don't utilize them, then you'll be costing yourself in terms of efficiency and in terms of other things. So it's necessary that once you bring people in, that first and foremost you incentivize them, motivate them, boost their morale, but make sure they also produce to their highest efficiency. And that is something that is just a smart business strategy to adopt.
Wow. If you want to have the utmost efficiency from your workers, you need to boost them, motivate them so they can give you what you are looking for. And so I see here, Kweku, you are welcome. Zachary, you are welcome to said that HR Digest. I can see Michael. Michael, you are welcome. All right. So, Jeff, we haven't looked at what it means to improve the performance of our employees and also how necessary it is for us to prioritize it. We want to look at the next question. What are some of the practical steps that, as a leader or a manager, what practical steps can they take to help improve the performance of their employees? Because most of the times people just reading books, we need to do this, but the practicality of the whole thing is out of the game. And so with your experience, we need you to help us. What are some of the practical steps managers can take to help improve the performance of their employees?
Well, the way I look at it from a practical point of view is it has to be integrated across the organization, and managers have to understand the organizational strategy with regards to not just performance management, but also performance improvement. What do I mean here? There has to be a coordinated effort between the various departments. How organizations bring people into the organization, how they grow them, how they develop them, um, how they even outplace them is a key thing that we really need to pay attention to. Now, what managers can do specifically, it starts, I would say, with really understanding or taking some time to conduct a thorough needs analysis, okay, to get clarity on what is happening, what the root causes are of low performance. Once those root causes are fully established, managers would have to then do something called, it's more like they kind of differentiate between what's a training or skill and knowledge issue versus what is another issue that may not necessarily fall within the domain of training and development, but could be motivation, it could be health issues, it could be morale issues. People could be going through challenges at home that's affecting their performance. Managers really need to pinpoint that. Once that is pinpointed, if it's a training issue, there are specific steps they have to strategically design the training, make sure that the expected outcomes are laid out. There are step-by-step procedures that they need to follow. We call this that process. That's what I do actually. We call that instructional design. You have to design the course, the programs in such a way that they meet specific targeted outcomes. Okay, so that's one way. But if it so happens that is something that may not necessarily be training related, it could be something motivation related. What they can do is kind of get the employees to align with the departments that are much more prepared and ready and skilled to boost their capabilities and morale in those areas. So, for example, if somebody is going through a marital issue at home, the HR or the managers would have to kind of refer them to marriage counseling and make sure that at the end of it all, by the time they get out of the counseling process, that they are back to where they were in terms of their readiness and their commitment to be able to come and execute on the job. So I think HR managers and general managers would have to be extremely strategic about the process. It's not just assuming it or thinking that this would work or that would work. They have to conduct an organization wide needs analysis without maybe trying to look for specific, I would say, problems. Just stay open as much as possible and let the data tell you specifically what is going on. Once they identify the data, once they find out specifically what is going on, the next thing is they might decide, they might choose to go with a training issue, a training intervention if it's a training issue, or they might go with a non-training issue. There's so many other interventions. For example, some people might be dealing with a health situation that may have brought their capacity and capability down. If, let's say, the person was operating at a certain capacity level and the managers realize that the person um, has just dipped in performance, okay, they may investigate that. If that investigation points to the fact that the person may not necessarily be in a good health condition, then you work on that part of it because all those things culminate in kind of boosting people's performance. So managers don't just have to be people just cracking the whip and asking people do this, do that. They have to really understand what is going on with people and kind of help them reposition themselves to deliver excellence. One second.
Wow.
Yeah.
Managers have to be very strategic and intentional about improving the performance of their employees. So, having said all this, then it means that it is not all performance issues that are solved with training, right?
Yes. In fact, training could be, I don't know a specific number. Training could be around, I would say, 35 to 40% of the time. Sometimes it's just general issues. People may just not like their boss. Okay. Sometimes it could be procedural issues. In fact, when anything happens within a workplace, it's one of three things: it's a people issue, it's a process issue, or a technology issue. So managers need to take a look at all those angles. If it's a people issue, then you want to look at the specific employees and what's going on with them. If it's a process issue, it could be that maybe the way the work itself is designed is causing people not to produce. So if that's the case, you cannot conclude that that employee is not a good employee or that employee is not an efficient employee. All you need to do at that point is to resource the person well. So it's there's a strategic intent behind it, and leaders and managers within organizations really have to take the time to get to understand what is going on. It's like an analogy that I always use is like going to the emergency room. They don't just have to give you medications because you showed up. They have to really run lab tests and find out specifically
Absolutely.
what's going on, and that's what they deal with. And that's really what we're talking about here.
Wow. So if you are here with us and you are having performance issues in your organization or with your team, you would want to look at these three things, whether you want to look at your people, you want to look at your processes, and you want to look at your technology. Definitely the issue may be coming from one of these. Thank you, Jeff. I can see Pa Kwame Boateng, you are welcome to Sedat HR Digest. Right. So, Jeff, we want to know, as HR people, HR practitioners, what is our role, or what role do we play in improving the performance of our employees? Do we have any role to play? And if we do, what are the roles that we have to play in this?
I would say, and I'm an HR person too, I would say one of the biggest misconceptions that HR people have of HR is we think that HR is a department, but HR is not just a department. HR is a function. So every person within the company, every supervisor has an HR role. So what HR has to do is HR has to facilitate an understanding of HR's functions. There's so many things that HR needs to do. HR is an integral core of the business. Okay, when you look at factors of production, it's land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Labor and entrepreneurship revolve around people. So the people aspect is huge. What HR can do specifically, HR first and foremost has to make sure HR hires the best and the most qualified people to get into the organizations in the first place. The onboarding process, okay, they have to set up mentoring programs. They have to have a strategic and technical approach to kind of designing programs and building people. They have to have a good compensation system. They have to have a good performance management system. There are a whole lot of things. The entire HR function has to revolve around improving performance, bringing people into the company the right way, and then getting people to exit the company when it's time for people to leave. The problem that I see in our part of the world, in Africa, is that we clog the system. People get into organizations and they don't want to leave. And if people don't want to leave, it's difficult to get younger, fresher ideas to come in. When people could be using their experience, one could be using their skill sets in parliament or in other areas. What happens is sometimes we just stay, and we just get stuck in the system without really building skill sets or doing anything. And then we start falling in terms of our proficiency and delivery mechanisms. So it's very, very important, I would say. It's very important that HR plays the role of good cop, bad cop. What I mean is HR has to be the one facilitating growth and development, but HR also has to be that group that point takes time to really identify who's performing and who's not performing, and kind of assess the people who may not be performing, and get the people who maybe have outlived their, I would say, usefulness within the organization, and reposition them. What they can do, HR can, let's say, incentivize people to get out of the organization and become consultants and mentors, okay, to other people within the organization, so that those people who may have fresher, more newer skills, maybe in certain positions producing. But HR really needs to be looking at, I would say, HR really needs to be looking at performance, not just in terms of the performance management, because the performance management process is something that is generally just designed and we follow through. Okay, but continuous, we have to kind of loop in continuous improvement into performance management. If last year we operated at an organization-wide capacity of 60%, HR shouldn't be content staying at 60%. HR should say, what else can we do, okay, to build a future where we are actually using the same resources but producing at 80% capacity, things like that. So there's so many things HR needs to do. The entire HR function, almost every aspect of HR plays into this. And it takes an integrated HR team with good HR leaders to really understand what their role is and what we have to do as HR practitioners to support the process.
Wow. So all the functions of HR would have to come to play so we can improve the performance of our employees. We want to remind you that Sedat's HR Digest is brought to you by Sedat HR Consult and support from FA Impressions. You can contact FA Impressions on 0243 526781. 0243 526781 for all your branding and printing needs. Now, Jeff, in this part of our world, I mean, I don't know about other countries, but let me be specific with Ghana. it's very difficult for employees or workers to come out to say that this is actually what is wrong with me, and that is why I am not performing. Most of the times they hoard whatever is happening to them, it's affecting their performance. They won't come out to say it, and they will be, and it will be assumed that such an employee is not performing to the utmost level. What would you say? What can we do as leaders to be able to probe further and get these type of employees to speak out so we can help them?
Well, that's something that must be embedded in the organizational culture. Psychological safety is something that must be embedded in the organizational culture, and it's not just in organizations in Ghana. I see this when I go to I'm a Ghanaian. I go to families in Ghana versus families here. Children in Ghana don't question their parents. They don't talk back because they know there are consequences if they talk to their parents. Okay. In Ghana, what happens is sometimes when people have jobs, they don't want to lose their jobs. So they don't want to say what's going on. They don't want to really complain. But over here in this part of the world, when people are struggling, they feel psychologically safe and free enough because the system has created that culture. So it's extremely important that we start building that culture where people can go to their managers and say, look, I remember I used to manage a team, okay, and they would come to me and tell me, look, you're the manager, but you said we should come to work at this time, but you came to work late today. I'm sorry, you are not showing up well. You know what I mean? This is where somebody that I could fire would come tell me, why can't we create that same culture? Because at the end of the day, we all work for an organization. When you see, managers must have to create that mindset that we all work for an organization that makes money, and that money comes back to our pockets. So everybody must get a feeling that they are part of the value creation of the organization. But what I see, unfortunately, in our part of the world, what I see is when people get jobs, they feel like they've been done a favor. And even if they feel like things aren't going well, they don't speak up. But we, the leaders, we, the managers, have to create an environment where people feel confident enough to challenge us. Okay. I have a daughter. I mean, sometimes I set rules. Everybody has to wash their plate. If I don't wash my plate, and she comes to me and she says, Daddy, you said this yesterday. Why didn't you wash your plate? In Ghana, we will call it disrespect. In America, I look at it as confidence. She's growing in confidence. So these are things that this is a culture that we really have to push in our workplace. And leaders who kind of bully and push people around must be fired. They must be asked to leave the company. The company has to, and HR has to facilitate that process. The company has to be clear on what will fly and what will not fly within the company. Okay, the company has to enable that culture to develop where people can freely come and say, look, and it's not just in terms of people dealing with issues and consequences. We have to create environments where people can come up and say, look, the way the company as a whole is going, I think we could go better this way. I saw this on TikTok. We want to create an environment where people are free to innovate. And all these things in the long run play into the entire performance management, performance improvement process. Organizations exist to make money or support a cause, grow a cause if it's a nonprofit. And everybody has a responsibility. Everybody has to support the process. So if you don't create that freedom and open environment with feedback, where people can come in and give feedback, good or bad, with the intent. I mean, I've been in organizations where that feedback we call confrontation. I'm confronting you because I care about the organization and you. I'm not confronting you to hurt you. I'm confronting you because what you are doing is not working well for all of us. That's the kind of mindset. So there's a mindset part to the whole thing. There's a mindset thing about performance. Okay, there are some people, I will tell you, if you get them in organizations in some parts of the world, they may be kicked out because they are straightforward and they just try to it's they don't try to just challenge authority. They try to fix situations and they don't mind being the lone star trying to fix things. But culture eats strategy for breakfast. It's very easy for us to say, oh, are you tuning? Or you say he's this, he's that. But that's not what we have to do. Managers have to really managers have to create an environment where people feel psychologically supported to come out and contribute their quota in terms of their performance and in terms of just speaking up about anything that may be needed to help increase the performance of the group and the company.
Wow, wow. Let's create that environment for our workers or our staff to be able to come up and voice out what is happening to them. Psychological safety. And Jeff, that is it. A lot of workers are hurting, a lot of team members are hurting within. And if you don't create the culture around, just as Jeff has said, create that culture for them so they can come out to tell you what exactly is wrong with them. If not, you will end up, I mean, having wrong impressions about your team if they can't tell you what exactly it is. You shouldn't be there in one of the Ghanaian languages. Will say, don't be kakamotobi in your office. Okay, don't wear a masquerade in the office that people cannot come to you and tell you what is wrong with them. Amazing discussion, amazing um, 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 details. Thank you very much, Jeff. We want to look at how managers can ensure the sustainability of driving high performance. How do managers ensure that they are able to sustain the high performance they are looking out for or they've started in the organization? Most of the times, people start and they are not able to sustain the high performance that they are driving. They start, and along the way you don't see it again. The passion, the zeal, everybody, I mean, everything goes down. As managers, as leaders, how do we ensure the sustainability of driving high performance?
I would say it's just consistency, institutionalization, and just making sure that a culture is built around not just one-time events, but a continuous culture is built around performance improvement, where year over year over year, we as managers do the same things that work well. We have to continuously kind of review and evaluate ourselves, okay, and ask ourselves what's working well, what's not working, what's not working well. Flush it out of the system. What's working, we have to actually keep moving it in such a way that the culture in and of itself can actually develop. That's number one. I would say, in terms of sustainability, I think one thing that we can also do as leaders and managers. Oh, did I miss you? Did I lose you? What's going
No, I'm
on?
here. I can see you.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, a friend of mine was calling. I apologize for that. The second part of it is we want to incentivize people. We want to use rewards and recognition. Okay, there are times when, um, in order to sustain something, you can just build in fact, compensation management. You can build in benefits and compensation systems. Okay, that kind of um, get people to motivate themselves and continuously repeat good behaviors. So, if let's say the best employee in every department every quarter, okay, if the best employee in every department every quarter gets a certain package, people will start working hard to become the best employee, and that will sustain the culture. So it's not something that has to be done with the thought process of being a one-time thing. It's something that should be baked into the entire culture of the organization. A continuous improvement culture has to be built, and almost everything that we've talked about. I mean, HR's role, the kinds of people. Remember, in order to sustain anything, okay, it has to be built first. So organizational design has to come in. We have to, as HR folks, we have to look at which type of people we bring in. We have to kind of do a review of the types of people we bring in. Is it good for us to bring type A personalities or type B personalities? You know, people, some people, there are some people who are quiet but hard workers. But there are some people who may not be, and there are some people, I like to call some people impression managers. Those people who show up in the office drinking coffee and reading the newspapers and say, "Oh man, it's been a beautiful day. It's been a challenging day." They are not working. They are drinking coffee and they're reading the newspapers, but they make it sound as if they are tired. They are not working. So, in order to build a sustainable high performance culture, you can decide as an organization managers to say, we don't look at the fluff, we look at the data. What are the numbers telling us? How many units are you producing per week? That's the only way we promote you, and that's the only way we give you awards. Not because you are the president's son or the president's daughter. Okay, we only give you based on what the numbers say. And once that we start using the numbers to run the system, what's going to happen is people are going to align themselves with that culture, and that culture will sustain itself over time.
That culture will sustain itself over time. Akusia, I can see you. You are welcome. Oh, so sorry, your network is poor. Maybe you would want to look for, just adjust yourself small, and let's see if your network would be better for you to listen to what we are discussing now. Talking about rewarding performance, I mean, we see a lot of companies and a lot of organizations run performance management system, and they do all the things they have to do, and they leave that aspect of reward out. And like Jeff has said, it is very, very important. If you want to sustain high performance, you need to reward performance. You need to have a good performance system, a reward system in place. And if you are looking for any organization to give you a good performance system, draft and develop one for you, don't hesitate to contact Sedat Consult. They would develop and design one for you, and you can implement it at your workplace. You can implement it at your workplace. Amazing discussion ongoing right now. Miriam, I can see you. Miriam says, great discussion. Thank you, Miriam. Augustine, thank you for joining. If you have any question for Jeff, you can drop it in the comments section. I would read it out for Jeff, and Jeff would answer you. Now, Jeff, we want to look at this. How do we go about having difficult conversation um around performance with employees? Many are times when people are not performing well, when employees are not putting up their best, um that courage to even call them, to sit them down and say that, hey, that based on the numbers we are seeing, you are not putting up your best, you are not pulling your weight. As leaders, as managers, what are some of the things, how do we go about having such difficult conversations with our employees?
Well, to begin with, the conversation should not be difficult. So, the whole mindset of calling them difficult conversations. I mean, bad performance is bad performance. Good performance is good performance. If we set goals up front, if we say the passing score is 60% and a person gets 59, it's not a harsh performance, it's not a harsh conversation because the person got 59 over 60. That's number one. Number two, feedback must be continuous. What I mean is, rather than managers calling people in and having conversations with them, managers have to have like weekly check-ins, where during these check-ins, they let the employees know that those 30 minutes or 50 minutes or 1 hour such segments belong to them. So the employees would take charge of those. Maybe first and foremost, managers can set goals with the employees, maybe quarterly or weekly or bi-weekly, and the employee has to come in and justify whether they met the goals. If they exceeded the goals, the manager rewards them. If they fail to exceed, they give a reason why. And then they have a conversation as to how to improve it the following week. So if the conversation is continuous and is regular, it becomes just a regular lunchtime conversation. But if we hold on to the conversation until the end of the quarter or the end of the year before we have it, then people feel stressed up, and that the whole psychological safety thing comes in. People go to crazy lengths. People deal with a lot of stress just to get through that. But if it's a part of the daily activity, if people open an environment where anybody, anybody at all can pick anybody, there's a culture that I am familiar with. It's called confrontation, like I talked about. We have to create a feedback rich culture where people are not scared to give each other feedback, and where people really truly understand that feedback is a gift, okay, and not a punishment. If we have friends who have known bad things about us all the years that we hang with them, okay, only for us to find out maybe after 10 years of being their friend, we wouldn't call them friends anymore. So if you have coworkers who realize that maybe your lateness to work, some things you're doing may not be helping your performance, and those coworkers don't share those things with you, then they're actually punishing you. They're not helping you. So the idea is we have to conscientize our workers. We have to conscientize people to come to understand that feedback is a gift, and that all those little components, communication, all those little things are actually intended to help everybody perform. I was at a conference a while ago. I shared this with some friends that I was with last night. You know, when we were going to the conference, they had stones like rocks put in a jar, and everybody who went in and out of the building had to shake those rocks. And at the end of the 7 day meeting, the president of the company came and said, "You don't know why you were shaking those rocks." But he said, "Look, when we came day one, these rocks were rough as much as possible. They were very rough. But because everybody shook them, they rubbed against each other. And by day
Wow.
seven, they all look smooth." So the thinking is that it's a way of reminding people that telling each other what we can do to improve ourselves and our organization is not a bad thing. Okay, it's just changing a mindset around it. Feedback is not bad. So that's what I would say in that regard.
Let's change our mindset about feedback. Feedback is a gift, and I love that. Feedback is a gift. If people cannot really tell you what is happening around you, give you that positive and negative feedback, there is no way you would grow. And like Jeff has said, mentioned, don't wait till the end of the year before you sit your employees down or team members down to tell them about what they did wrong and what they didn't do wrong and all that. Have regular checks in with them if you want to improve and sustain their performance, and try as, and I love that, Jeff, a lot of managers draft or come up with a performance objectives themselves. They don't involve their workers, they just do it and then tell them this is for you, go implement it. But when you do with them, like Jeff has said, they feel part of it. And if they are not able to do it, they themselves will even come midway to tell you that I think I'm having a roadblock somewhere. And that is where if the culture of psychological safety is being created in the organization. I can see Felix Crunchy here. Felix, you are welcome. Michael says, insightful discussion. Kudos to the team. If you have any question, please put it in the comment box and we will read it out. Michael says that feedback is a gift, not a punishment. Whoa, I salute you, sir. Said Jeffrey. Michael is so excited. Feedback is indeed a gift. It is indeed a gift. Now, Jeff, my last question. My last question. There are some employees that they are not performing. You put them on a performance improvement plan, you give them all the supports you have to give them, and yet you don't see that improvement coming in from their side. What should the line manager or HR manager do? Because some people say that, oh, you keep on doing it, others too says that get them out, they don't fit here. What do you think that the line manager or the HR manager should do after putting the employee on a improvement plan and there seems to be no improvement? What should be done to such an employee? Should we continue to put the person on the PIP, or we get them out?
I have a philosophy in life, and I think it's fundamental to everything. If you want to be a just human being, you always have to seek to understand people first before trying to be understood. I think most leaders sometimes weaponize the PIP. They want to say, oh, yeah, and I put this person on the PIP. But did they really take time to understand what was going on with the person? Okay. I think the most important thing, the starting point of every solution is really understanding what the problem is. Sometimes leaders put people on PIPs without understanding what the problem is. So I will go back to training leaders to really get to the root cause of things. When leaders have the root cause of things and they have a step by step, well designed process to actually fix those root causes, and they work together with the employee, the subordinate, and things are not changing. It could be that the subordinate may not be capable or maybe deficient in certain areas. I wouldn't just put the person on the PIP and fire the person right away. What I'll check, another thing I'll check is I want to be sure whether the person has reserved capabilities that can be deployed in other areas of the organization. Somebody may not be smart enough, but may be a very good typist. And that person may have a typing speed that can hurt your company if he goes to a different company. And that person may have maybe enjoyed your resources already. So do everything possible. The PIP thing, don't just weaponize PIP. Do everything possible to help people to be the best version of themselves or to give the best asset that they can give to the organization. If people get to know that you've done everything possible and things are not working, okay, and you decide as a company and that person to mutually separate, that person could even leave your company and still bring you people, just knowing and having a full understanding. But sometimes we put people on PIPs and push them out of companies. But and if these people become big people with other companies, they may be the ones who maybe at some point may have to give us contracts. And they may hold back on contracts. They may retaliate. So I think I don't just go straight to punishing people or putting people on PIPs. Some companies like to position themselves as cutthroat companies and things like that. But I think there has to be a humane side to that equation. Always understand what is going on. And you'll be surprised. People will tell you I would say, when you get to really understand what is going on with people and you address those things, people that you thought were low performers will end up probably becoming your best performers. So it's all about, I always go back to let's understand the problem first. Okay, let us really understand the problem first. Let's not, like I always use my emergency room thing. Don't say the person came in an ambulance and the person XYZ, so we took the person into surgery. No. Run some labs. It could be somebody has a headache. It could be that something else is causing the headache. Solve that problem. If you solve that problem, the headache will change. But I think managers generally don't take time to understand what is going on with employees. But it's very important that we start also reorienting ourselves as leaders and as managers to really understand the employee side of the equation. We're all employees in the past. So let's
Absolutely.
understand the employee side of the equation in order to be able to build things properly.
Let's understand the employee part of the equation. So, just Akosia has a question. Akosia says, "How long can an employee be put on a PIP? How long do we need to put employees on PIP?"
The answer to every question in life, Akosia, it depends. That is the answer to every question in life. Some people are slow learners. Some people are fast learners. Some people are angry people. Some people. So it's the company may have a policy. You may choose to go within or outside the company policies, but I would say within reasonable limits, what would work for both parties. Everything must be decided on a case by case basis. If if there's a protocol that must be followed, but somebody has a unique challenge that requires unique, I would say, solutions, you could extend it maybe 3 months, because on the average, it takes about 3 to 6 months for people to perfect a new skill. So putting people on a PIP for 3 weeks is actually punishment, because at that point, the initial 2 to 3 weeks, they may be panicking. They may not be sure what. I mean, they may not be sure what to do next. But if you guide them, if you really guide them, you counsel them, you coach them, you give them the resources to fully understand what they could do better or how they can do things, walk them through, and you give them 3 to 6 months and they are not really pulling their weight, then you know something is wrong. But if you haven't given them sufficient time, but I hear some companies will give you 6 weeks of PIP and you're out. And when you give people 6 weeks of PIP, you can trust that they're home searching for jobs elsewhere. They're just taking your salary for the 6 weeks. By the time the 6 weeks is out, they probably have a new job. So you want to give people as much time as possible, and not just time, but also as much help as possible. Okay, they're already your employee. They already know your culture. They already know your secrets. So try to do everything possible to make sure they are successful before, if things don't work out, you mutually separate.
Try to handle PIP on case by case basis, and if it mutually don't work out, you separate. Our guest then is asking, how can we improve feedback in our workplace? How can we improve feedback in our workplace?
Build a culture of confrontation. What I mean is, first and foremost, the company must inject that culture into the organization. Okay, I've been through organizations where they have feedback sessions and they have a company policy and a company rule that every employee, regardless of your rank or position, is required, not just advised, is required. Oh, hold on, I'm missing something. I'm on my phone, so I think, give me a quick second. Clear. Sorry, hold on 1 second. I apologize. I touched something and I can't see you anymore. Do you see me?
Yes, but not active. But we
What
can
I say?
hear you. We can see you, but it's not active. The network is you are frozen. But
Oh,
we can hear you. Yes. So I think because of our time, maybe since once we can hear
yes,
you,
okay.
you can go ahead and then talk.
Yeah, okay. So there has to be, I would say, my advice is come up with a feedback trail.
Sorry, I think we are losing Jeff. I'm sure he will come back soon. Um, but we want to remind you that Sedat HR Digest is brought to you by Sedat Consult and supported by FA Impressions. You can contact FA Impressions on 0243526781. 0243526781. Create that environment that your employees can give you the feedback that you need to hear. Create that environment for put in place systems that you can get feedback from your employees. All too soon, our time is up, and we can see some questions are still coming. Please keep your questions coming in. We will answer them and let you have the feedback. Michael says that I gather from the discussion that creating a culture of consistently improving employee performance is very much dependent on an organization's leadership. That is absolutely right. Absolutely. We want to say a very big thank you to you all for joining in today's episode. Our discussion was on how to improve the performance of your employees. And this is Sedat HR Digest being brought to you by Sedat Consult and supported by FA Impressions. You can contact them once again on 0243526781 for all your branding and printing needs. In fact, I wish we are not ending, but unfortunately, we have to end this episode. But I want to promise you that next week we are coming your way with another exciting topic that will help you to improve the performance of your employees and help you build a strong organization that will give you what you are looking for, the expected outcome. We want to say a very big thank you to our sponsors and everybody that had joined in today. We are very grateful. Make time with us, same date, same time next week, and let's discuss another topic. Thank you. We want to say have a good evening, have a good morning, have a good afternoon wherever you are. And from Sedat's HR Digest team, we say we love you. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.